a small, bustling community nestled on the outskirts of Lagos. Children in faded uniforms shuffled home from school, their sandals slapping against the red earth. Among them walked Henry, a frail boy of about 12. His shoulders sagged, his uniform rumpled, and his eyes glistened with tears. He kept one hand tightly clenched in his pocket, but the pain in his heart was heavier than anything his fingers could hold. He had lost his school fees. Earlier that morning, his stepmother had shoved a crumpled N5,000 note into his hand. "Don't come back without the receipt," she had warned, her voice sharp as a blade. Henry had tucked the money deep into his pocket, careful not to lose it. But somehow, somewhere along the way, it had vanished. Now, he wandered the street aimlessly, his cries growing louder with every step. People glanced at him, curious but too busy with their own struggles to ask questions, but not Mama Mary. Sitting under a makeshift umbrella beside a wooden stall lined with small baskets of tomatoes and atarodo, Mama Mary noticed the boy. Her face was lined with years of hardship, but her eyes were soft, the kind that could still see suffering even in a world hardened by poverty. "Ah, my Pekin, why are you crying like this?" she asked, standing up from her stool and walking over to him. Henry sniffed and wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "Mama, I lost my school fees," he sobbed. "I kept it well, but it's gone. I searched everywhere, I swear. If I go home without the receipt, my stepmother will beat me. She might even send my father out again." Mama Mary's heart clenched. She knew the cruelty of poverty. She had lived through it since her husband died 7 years ago, leaving her with a daughter and a dream that barely survived each day. All she had were the tomatoes she sold and the strength of her spirit. Still, something in Henry's eyes reminded her of her own child. She took a deep breath. "My name is Madam Mary, but most people just call me Mama Mary," she said gently. "Tell me, how much is the school fees?" 5,000 naira, Henry whispered, without another word. "Mamai." Mary bent and pulled out an old rusted tin box from beneath her stool. Inside was the money she had made that day, her only earnings. Slowly, she took out the exact amount, wrapped in a torn black nylon. She placed the bundle in Henry's hand. "Take it, my son. Go and pay your fees, but promise me one thing. Stay. In school. Don't follow useless friends. One day, you will become someone important. And when you do, don't forget Mama Mary." Henry stared in disbelief. "Mama, are you sure? This is your money." She smiled, the kind of smile that hid pain. "Yes, my child. It's my last, but God will provide. Go on now." Henry clutched the money like a treasure and wiped his tears again. "I will make you proud, Mama Mary. When I make it in life, I will find you. I swear I will not forget your name." She touched his head gently and whispered a quiet prayer in Yoruba, asking the heavens to guide and bless the boy. Henry turned and ran, glancing back once with gratitude in his heart. "God bless that woman," he whispered as he raced to school before the gate closed. At home that evening, Henry returned looking exhausted, his uniform dusty but his eyes calmer. In his pocket, the school receipt crinkled with every step. His father sat on a small wooden bench outside their Face Me I Face You compound, lost in thought. "Henry, welcome. Did you pay the school fees?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. Henry nodded. "Yes, Daddy, I did." His father stood up in relief. "Thank God. Let me see the receipt." Henry handed it to him but then hesitated, his voice dropping. "Daddy, I need to tell you something." His father's brow furrowed. "What is it?" "I lost the money today, before I got to school," Henry said, his voice cracking. "I don't know how. I checked everywhere. I cried, 'Daddy, I almost didn't come back.'" The man's eyes widened. "What? Henry, do you know what that money means to us? Your stepmother will finish us today?" "I know. But someone helped me." His father blinked. "Who?" Henry managed a small smile. "A woman. She sells tomatoes by the roadside. Her name is Mama Mary. She gave me the exact amount, even though it was her last. She said I should make her proud." His father was silent for a long time. Then he sat down again and whispered, "God bless that woman. A stranger helped my son when even his own family could not. We have to thank her," Henry said. "I promised I won't forget her." His father placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "And I believe you, son. One day you will return that kindness." But even as they planned to visit her, darkness was already descending on Mama Mary's world. The next morning, Mary was at her stall again. Business was slow, and her stomach growled from hunger. But her heart was still peaceful. She had done something right the day before, and she knew heaven had seen it. Suddenly, chaos broke out on the street. big trucks, uniformed men, and loudspeakers. This is government land. All roadside stalls must be removed. Before she could gather her things, the men began tearing everything down. Her baskets of tomatoes were thrown to the ground. Her umbrella was ripped away. She screamed, "A bag! Let me pack my goods!" No one listened. Her wooden stall, her only source of survival, was smashed to pieces. Mary bent and salvaged one small basket of tomatoes, tears streaming down her face. "Where will I sell now?" she cried. "How will I feed my daughter?" Other women cried too, but the trucks moved on. Mary carried her remaining goods and began the long, dusty walk home. Her legs trembled and her heart pounded with fear. She didn't know what to tell her daughter, but as she turned the corner to their compound, her heart sank even further. Her teenage daughter, Alina, was standing outside crying. Their clothes, pots, and old foam mattresses were scattered beside the gate. The landlord, a tall, pot-bellied man with a cane, stood watching with folded arms. "Madame Mary, I warned you. 1 year of unpaid rent. Enough is enough. I've found new tenants. You people should carry your load." Mary's lips parted, but no words came. She dropped the basket and rushed to Alina. "My child, are you okay?" Alina nodded, wiping her tears. "Mama, they didn't wait. I begged them." Mary turned to the landlord. "Please, just 1 more week. I lost my stall today. We have nowhere to go." The man scoffed. "Go and sleep in front of the shrine if you want. I'm done." He slammed the gate behind him. Mary sat on the roadside beside her daughter. The sun was setting. People passed, some stared, but no one stopped. She pulled Alina close and whispered, "I'm sorry, my child. I tried. I really tried." Alina leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. "You're the best mother in the world, Mama. God will help us." Mary looked up at the darkening sky. "I don't regret helping that boy," she whispered. "If I had to do it again, I would. If I had to choose again, I'd still give him my last money. I just need a miracle now." That night, Mary and her daughter Alina slept outside, curled beside their worn-out bags near an abandoned shop veranda. The cold bit into their skin, mosquitoes buzzed in the darkness, and they had not eaten anything since morning. The street was quiet, save for the distant barking of stray dogs and the occasional rumble of a passing Okada. Still, through all the hardship, Mary clung tightly to her faith. In her heart, she whispered over and over again, "God, I believe you haven't forgotten me." By morning, their bodies were stiff and sore from the cold cement floor. Alina's eyes were puffy from crying in her sleep. Mary sat up slowly, stretched her back with a wince, and pulled her daughter close. "My daughter," she said, brushing Alina's dusty hair gently. "We can't continue like this. We have to move forward. Let's go to the next city. My old friend Sister Na lives there. She might be able to help us." Alina simply nodded, trusting her mother. Even in the storm, her mother's voice was her anchor. Mary took the last crumpled notes she had hidden under the lining of her head tie, what was left from her demolished tomato stall, and paid for 2 bus tickets. It was just enough. The bus they boarded was old and rusted. The windows barely opened and the seats were torn. But it didn't matter. They sat in the back, clutching their bags like lifelines. The journey was barely an hour, but the weight of worry made it feel like 3. Mary didn't speak much during the ride. Her eyes were locked on the moving trees outside the window, but her lips moved silently, praying, pleading, hoping. When they finally arrived, Mary led her daughter through familiar dusty roads. She hadn't seen Sister Na in years, but the memory of her house was still fresh. They stopped before a modest compound with a black iron gate. Mary hesitated, then knocked gently, her heart pounding like a talking drum. The gate creaked open, and a woman peeked out. She blinked, shocked. "Mary," she asked, stepping closer, squinting. "Is it really you? What happened? Why do you look like this?" Mary burst into tears and threw her arms around her friend. "Sister, they destroyed my stall yesterday. Government people came with bulldozers. Then when I got home, my landlord had thrown all our things outside. We slept on the street. I have nothing left. Nothing." Sister Na's eyes widened, and without a word, she pulled them inside. "Come in, my sister. Come in quickly. Don't stand outside like a beggar." She gave them water, made them sit, and just sat there staring at Mary in disbelief. Then she clapped her hands and said, "Ah, Mary, you don't even know how God has timed this visit." Mary looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you came at the perfect time." Sister Na smiled. "My husband and I are relocating this weekend. I was just about to return the key to the landlord today and collect our 1-year rent in advance. Mary's eyes widened. Sister, nah, I don't understand. The rent is already paid. You and Alina can stay here. I'll call the landlord and tell him to change the name to yours. You won't pay a kobo for now. Mary gasped and covered her mouth in shock. You want to give me your house? Just like that? Yes, Mary. You helped me once when I was drowning. You don't remember, but I do. This is my way of giving back. God must have brought you at this very moment. Mary collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed with emotion. Thank you, Sister Na. May God reward you abundantly. This is more than a house. It's hope. Sister Na held her up. Wait, I'm not done, she said with a smile. I have some money I saved for emergencies. Use it to start another tomato stall. It should also be enough to register Alina back into school. Mary wept openly now. She held her friend's hands tightly. You've saved my life, my daughter's life. I don't even have the words. Just yesterday, I was nothing. Now I have a home, a chance. Sister Na pulled her into a warm embrace. That's what true friends do. Alina, who had been silent through it all, finally smiled. Her first smile in days. Thank you, Auntie, she said shyly. I'll go back to school and make you proud. 3 days later, Henry reminded his father about something important. Daddy, we promised to go and thank that woman. Let's go today. Yes, my son, his father agreed. A person like that deserves our gratitude. They boarded a small commercial bus and headed for the street where Henry remembered meeting the kind tomato seller. But when they arrived, they were stunned. The entire row of stalls by the roadside had vanished. Bulldozers had reduced everything to rubble. Daddy, this is where she used to sit. This was her stall, Henry said, heart sinking. His father looked around, sighing heavily. It must be the government demolition we heard about. They've cleared out the whole place. But how do we find her now? Henry turned his head, left and right, searching for a familiar face, someone to ask, but the street was eerily empty. Their search ended in silence and sorrow. When they got home, Henry's stepmother stood at the door with her arms crossed tightly. Where have you been since morning? She barked. Henry's father tried to explain. We went to look for the woman who helped Henry pay his school fees. What woman? She scoffed, narrowing her eyes. He explained gently, a poor woman selling tomatoes gave Henry her last. Money. We went to thank her. The woman burst into mocking laughter. And you expect me to believe that fairy tale? You left this house to chase after some tomato seller? Ha! Who knows if she's not your new girlfriend? Henry stepped forward, confused and defensive. But it's true, Ma. She really helped me. Shut your mouth, she shouted. You and your cheating father should go and live with her then. Useless people. Before they could speak, she stormed inside, dragging their clothes and throwing them into the compound. Out of my house. Speechless and humiliated, they picked up their belongings and walked down the street. Eventually, they found a small store with a bench outside. The shopkeeper, a kind older man, allowed them to rest there. As they sat in silence, Henry's father suddenly stood up. Henry, wait here. Where are you going, Daddy? The boy asked. Just let me try something. He walked into a nearby shop that sold lottery tickets and lucky draws. With the last N500 note in his pocket, their dinner money, he bought a single ticket. Something in him whispered, try it. 2 days later, he returned to the shop, not expecting anything. Just curiosity. But when the shopkeeper checked the results, he jumped to his feet. Sir, you've won! You've won the jackpot! Henry's father blinked. Won what? N100 million. You're a rich man now. He froze. His legs shook. He sat slowly, on the ground, holding his head, tears falling down. God. Is this real? Is this real? Tears of shock, tears of gratitude. Their lives had changed in an instant. 15 years later, Henry was no longer the small, crying boy who lost his school fees. He had grown into a tall, confident young man. Handsome, intelligent, and driven. After his father won the lottery, their lives changed forever. They moved into a new house, opened businesses, and built wealth. Henry studied hard, earned a degree in business, and launched his own company, one that would become one of the fastest-growing enterprises in Nigeria. He was respected across the nation, known for his humility and generosity, but one thing never left his heart: the memory of the woman who had saved him. Every year, on the same day she helped him, Henry would close his office door, sit quietly, and whisper, "Thank you, Mama Tomato. Wherever you are, I pray I find you one day. You changed my life. You gave me everything." He never gave up the search. One day, he believed they would meet again. Meanwhile, in a quiet town in the outskirts of Ogun State, Far from the bustling cities, Mary and her daughter Alina were still grappling with the harsh realities of life. Years had passed since Sister Na helped them with that kind gift, but the money hadn't lasted forever. Once it ran out, mother and daughter found themselves starting from scratch again, trapped in an endless cycle of hardship. They now lived in a tiny, crumbling room at the back of a compound that had seen better days, one with cracked walls, leaky roofing, and a wooden door that creaked in protest whenever opened. Mary still sold tomatoes by the roadside, under the unforgiving Nigerian sun. Her back ached more often now. Her eyesight wasn't what it used to be, but she pressed on with sheer will. Alina had blossomed into a beautiful, graceful young woman. She was polite, diligent, and driven by big dreams. She had graduated with a second-class upper degree from a federal university a year ago, but despite submitting countless CVs and attending several job interviews, doors remained firmly shut. The job market was tough. Connections, not just qualifications, often determined success. With nothing else to do, Alina began helping her mother full-time. Each morning, she tied her scarf tightly, wore her faded apron, and took her place beside the tomato table. She arranged the round, red fruits carefully on a makeshift wooden plank, calling out with a smile, "Buy your fresh tomatoes, hero. Sweet tomatoes, very ripe." Some days the sun scorched the earth before they made enough sales. On other days they went home with a few naira, barely enough to buy gari or yam. Occasionally they returned with unsold tomatoes and tears in their eyes. Still, Alina always tried to remain hopeful. She would hold her mother's wrinkled hands and say, "Mama, don't cry. One day our story will change. Just believe." Mary would force a smile and nod, but deep inside her heart was heavy. She worried. She prayed every night for a breakthrough. Just something to give her daughter a better life. One with comfort, security, and dignity. She dreamed of seeing Alina in an office, holding a handbag instead of a tomato basket, wearing neat shoes, not dusty slippers. One warm evening, as the sky turned orange and the day's sales had ended, Mary sat on an old stool, exhausted. As Alina packed the remaining tomatoes, Mary suddenly said, "Alina, do you still remember that little boy I once helped many years ago? The one I gave my last coins to?" Alina smiled and nodded. "Yes, Mama, you've told me that story so many times I could narrate it myself." Mary stared into the distance and said quietly, "I wonder where he is now. I pray he's doing well." The next morning was bright and full of promise. Mary had gone to the local market to restock tomatoes, leaving Alina to tend to their roadside stall alone. Alina fanned herself with a folded carton and watched the dusty street, waiting for customers. Suddenly, a sleek black SUV pulled up beside the stall. The engine purred as it came to a halt, drawing the attention of everyone around. From the car stepped out a tall, well-dressed man in his late 40s, wearing a fine native attire that shimmered slightly in the morning light. He carried himself with grace, the kind that spoke of wealth, class, and discipline. His eyes were kind but observant, the eyes of a man who had seen life from many angles. He approached the table and greeted, "Good morning, my dear." Alina stood and responded with a respectful smile. "Good morning, sir. Welcome. I just came from a wedding ceremony not far from here. I was passing by and decided to buy some tomatoes for stew. Something about your stall caught my eye," he said with an easy smile. Alina nodded and quickly began picking out the juiciest, freshest tomatoes. As she did, a question hovered in her mind. She hesitated, then asked shyly, "Please, sir, I hope you won't be offended, but someone like you buying tomatoes yourself? Don't you have a wife or children to help?" The man laughed warmly. "That's a good question. No offense taken. I don't have a wife. My son lives abroad. He hardly comes home. I used to have a cook, but she relocated to Enugu to join her husband. So now I cook by myself." Alina smiled in understanding. "Ah, okay, sir. I see. I've actually been looking for someone who is not only a good cook, but also honest and presentable. I'm tired of all these restaurant meals," he continued. "By the way, I'm Mr. Brandon. I'm into business, mainly logistics and property." Alina introduced herself and curtsied slightly. "Nice to meet you, sir. I'm Alina." He studied her for a moment, then asked, "You look educated. What are you doing selling tomatoes by the roadside?" Alina smiled faintly. "I graduated last year, sir, but jobs are scarce, so I help my mother while I search." Mr. Brandon nodded slowly. "I see. What if I offer you a job?" Alina's eyes widened. "A job, sir? Yes. Come work for me. As a cook, I'll pay you well, and if you're truly good, you'll have a permanent place." Alina could hardly believe her ears. "Are you serious, sir? Just like that?" "I don't joke with my food," he said with a laugh. "You seem respectful and smart. That's rare." She hesitated, then said, "Sir, I do most of the cooking at home. Even baking, I handle it." "Good," he said. "There's just one thing. You'll need to live in my house. Don't worry, there's enough space and privacy. You can visit your mother twice a month." Alina's heart beat fast. "Sir, thank you so much. But I have to speak to my mother first. I can't make this kind of decision alone." "Of course," Mr. Brandon agreed. He brought out his iPhone and handed her a contact card. "Call me tomorrow. If you're not interested, no problem." Alina held the phone number like a treasure. "Thank you, sir. God bless you." He smiled, picked up his tomatoes, and walked back to his car. As the car drove off, Alina remained rooted to the spot. Her hands trembled as she stared at the number. Her eyes welled up with tears. Not from sadness this time, but from an overwhelming sense of hope. She whispered under her breath, "Mama." Maybe our story is finally about to change. That evening, Mary came back from the market. Her wrapper was dusty, her steps slow. She dropped her basket and noticed Alina beaming from ear to ear. "Alina, what is making you smile like someone who just won lottery?" Mary asked, her voice laced with suspicion. "Mama, welcome. I have good news." Mary raised an eyebrow and sat down. Alina began, her voice filled with joy. "A man came to the stall today. His name is Mr. Brandon. He wanted to buy tomatoes, and we got talking. He said he's a businessman and lives in the next city. Mama, he offered me a job." Mary's eyes widened. "A job? From where to where?" "Just like that. Yes, Mama. He said I speak well and seem responsible. He offered to pay me and said I could live in his house." Mary's face suddenly turned serious. She sat up straight, eyes narrowed. "Ain. You want to go and live in a man's house just like that? Alina, don't be foolish. Don't you know there are ritualists in this country? Some of these rich men are not what they appear to be. You think just because he wore fine clothes and drove one big car, he is normal?" Mama's voice trembled with worry as she paced the small living room, her wrapper tied loosely around her waist. Alina tried to remain calm, her tone gentle. "Mama, please don't think like that." Mary spun around sharply. "Don't mama me, Alina. I'm your mother. You think I don't know how this world works? Do you know how many young girls have disappeared because of these sweet-talking, flashy men? Eh? Tomorrow now, we'll hear you were taken to one unknown place. What if he's a ritualist? What if he locks you inside one big house and nobody ever sees you again?" Alina reached for her mother's hand and held it tenderly. "Mama, I understand your fear, I do. But he didn't force me. He didn't even ask for my number. He gave me his and told me I could call him if I was interested. He said I should take my time to think. Doesn't that mean something?" Mary's eyes searched her daughter's face, her expression still clouded with concern. "Alina, are you truly sure? My spirit no day rest. Something about it just... Ian, it worries me." "I will be smart about it, Mama," Alina replied, her voice steady. "When I get to the area, I'll ask around. I'll talk to people living nearby. If anything looks strange, I won't even go inside. I promise you." There was a long silence. Mary turned away, staring out the open window where a child's laughter echoed from down the street. She let out a long, weary sigh. "You know you are all I have in this world, Abby. Since your father died, it has only been you and me. If anything happens to you, Alina, I'm finished. I won't survive it." Alina leaned gently against her mother's shoulder. "Mama, nothing bad will happen. This might just be the miracle we've been praying for. I can't keep sitting at home hoping a job falls from the sky. I need to take a step." Mary slowly sat on the edge of the wooden bench, tears forming in her eyes. She wiped one away and said softly, "I just want you to be safe." "I will be, Mama. And once I start earning money, I'll take care of you. You'll stop standing under the hot sun selling tomatoes at mile 12. You'll rest. I promise." Mary pulled her daughter into a tight hug and kissed her forehead. "Okay, my daughter. If your heart truly finds peace in this, go. But don't take your eyes off the road and don't trust anyone too quickly. Always be careful." Alina nodded, a soft smile on her lips. "Thank you, Mama. I'll call Mr. Brandon today." As she walked into their small bedroom to find her phone, Mary turned her gaze to the sky through the open window and whispered a prayer. "Jehovah, if this man is truly sent from you, let it lead to something good. But if his intentions are dark, please, let Alina never set foot in that house." The following morning, Alina stood outside their compound with her small bag slung across her shoulder. She took a deep breath and dialed the number Mr. Brandon had given her. Her hands trembled slightly as she waited. "Hello?" A calm, deep voice answered. "Good morning, sir. This is Alina. I spoke to my mother, and she has agreed." "Ah, that's wonderful news," Mr. Brandon said warmly. "Thank you for getting back to me. I appreciate your patience, sir. No problem at all. I'll send you directions. Just take a bus to Magoto Phase 2. One of my people will be waiting for you at the bus stop." "Thank you, sir. I'll be on my way shortly." After the call, Alina rushed back inside. "Mama, I'm going now." Mary was already waiting at the door, her hands wringing the hem of her wrapper. She pulled Alina into another long, emotional hug. "May God go with you. Don't forget what I told you. Shine your eyes. Trust your instinct." "I will, Mama. I won't forget anything." With her small bag and heart full of hope, Alina made her way to the bus park. The journey was long, almost an hour, but the excitement in her chest drowned out any tiredness. When she got to the bus stop, a neat-looking man wearing a white shirt and black trousers stood beside a clean Toyota Corolla. He waved gently. "Are you Miss Alina?" "Yes," she replied. "Follow me," he smiled. "Olga is waiting." They drove through a serene, tree-lined neighborhood with beautiful homes and quiet streets. When they arrived, Alina's mouth parted slightly in awe. The house was magnificent, painted a bright, welcoming white with a tall gate and a garden full of hibiscus and bougainvillea. It looked like something from a Nollywood movie. Mr. Brandon stepped out, dressed casually but smart, his demeanor calm and friendly. "You're welcome, Alina. Come in. Come in. This will be your new home." "Thank you, sir," she replied, still amazed by the surroundings. "It's so beautiful here." He led her through a tastefully furnished sitting room to a simple but neat room. A bed with fresh sheets, a wardrobe, and a small mirror sat neatly in the corner. "You'll stay here. The kitchen is just down the hallway. Don't worry, I'll treat you like family. Just be yourself and cook good food," he said with a warm laugh. Alina began work that same day. She cleaned the kitchen thoroughly and prepared a pot of smoky jollof rice with fried fish. By evening, the house smelled like home. Mr. Brandon smiled with every spoonful. "This is the best thing that has happened to me since my last cook traveled," he said contentedly. 2 weeks passed, and Alina quickly became the soul of the house. Then, something unexpected happened. Mr. Brandon's only son, Henry, returned from abroad without informing anyone. The gate swung open quietly, and a sleek, black car entered the compound. He stepped out in jeans and a plain shirt, wheeling a small suitcase behind him. The smell of egusi soup greeted him before he even reached the door. He followed the aroma to the kitchen and paused at the doorway. There she was, a young woman stirring a pot gently, her eyes focused, her face glowing with sweat and determination. "Good afternoon," he said. Startled, Alina turned quickly, nearly dropping her spoon. "Oh, good afternoon, sir," she said, smiling shyly. "I'm Henry. You must be the new cook?" "Yes, sir. My name is Alina. Nice to meet you," he said with a grin. "Your food smells incredible." "Thank you, sir," Alina replied softly, placing the tray gently on the dining table. Henry walked into the living room, dropped his travel bag with a soft thud, and made his way toward his father, who was lounging in an armchair, reading the day's paper. "Dad," he said, settling beside him with a tired smile. "Henry, welcome back," Mr. Brandon said warmly, folding the paper. "You came back earlier than I expected. How was the Abuja trip?" "Good," Henry replied casually, loosening the buttons on his shirt. Then, lowering his voice and leaning in slightly, he added, "But Dad, you didn't tell me the new cook you hired is this beautiful." Mr. Brandon's eyes lifted from the paper. "Which cook?" Henry chuckled. "Come on, Dad. That girl in the kitchen. Damn, she's hot." Mr. Brandon dropped the paper fully now and gave his son a firm look. "Henry, listen. Remove your eyes from that girl. She came here to work, not to be harassed or chased around. I'm just saying the truth," Henry said, laughing. "She's not only beautiful, she smells like home-cooked stew, like Sunday afternoons in the village." Mr. Brandon shook his head, amused. "Just behave yourself." I will," Henry said, still smiling. But as he leaned back on the sofa, his mind wandered. He couldn't stop thinking about the girl in the kitchen, the girl who cooked like royalty, yet moved like a quiet breeze, the girl who smiled like peace itself. Days passed in the Brandon household, and Alina began to settle in. The spacious kitchen, once intimidating with its shiny appliances and countless spices, now felt like home. She had memorized the cleaning routine, knew which window brought in the best light, and even grew fond of the garden where hibiscus flowers bloomed. But one thing still made her uneasy. Henry, Since the day he returned, he had a strange habit of appearing at the kitchen door, often under the pretense of hunger. Once, just 10 minutes after she served him lunch, he strolled in asking, "Alina, is the rice ready?" Other times, he'd peek in and say things like, "Teach me how to boil water. I want to be a real Nigerian man." Alina would laugh. "Sir, with all due respect, you don't need to know how to boil water. You already have someone who does that for you." Henry would grin. "Exactly. That's why I keep coming back." Every day he found a new excuse to talk to her, helping her carry tomatoes from the market, offering to slice onions, and crying dramatically every time, even surprising her with a tiny apron embroidered with her name in gold thread. But Henry was never inappropriate. He didn't touch her or flirt too boldly. He treated her like a queen who ruled over the kitchen kingdom. His gentleness caught her off guard. Alina started waiting for the sound of his footsteps in the morning. She began tasting her jollof twice to make sure it was perfect, hoping he'd be the first to compliment it. She even started checking her reflection in the back of spoons. One golden evening, as the sun lowered over the Lekki skyline, Mr. Brandon walked into the kitchen and found Alina humming as she chopped onions. "You look happy," he observed. She smiled, slightly embarrassed. "I'm just grateful, sir." "You're a blessing to this house," Mr. Brandon said, nodding. The next weekend, he gave her permission to visit her mother in Ajagunle. "Go and see your mama. I'm sure she misses you plenty." Alina was thrilled. She packed some groceries, her first gift bought with her own money, a new Ankara wrapper and a pair of fluffy pink slippers. When she arrived home, her mother, Mary, rushed out and hugged her tightly. "My daughter, you're looking so fresh." "Chineke, God has done it for us." Alina laughed. "Mama, I missed you." Inside their modest one-room home, Mary served hot yam porridge and they sat on the mat to catch up. The walls were cracked, but they held warmth. "Mama, I need to tell you something," Alina said, stirring her food. Mary looked up. "What is it?" "There's a man, Mr. Brandon's son." Mary raised an eyebrow, folding her arms. "Ahen? He's young, tall, respectful, funny, and I think I'm falling in love with him." Mary blinked. "You're falling in love?" Alina nodded. "Yes, Mama. I haven't told him. I don't even know if he feels the same, but something in me just softens when I see him." Mary slowly smiled. "Love is sweet, my daughter, but love with wisdom is sweeter. Don't rush. Watch well. Ask God." "I'm not rushing," Alina said quietly. "But I've never felt this before." Mary placed a hand on hers. "If it's real, it will stay. If it is from God, no man can stop it." Alina hugged her mother, hope blooming in her chest. Back in Lekki, Henry sat in the garden, watching the flowers sway in the evening breeze. He whispered to himself, "There's something about Alina. I think I'm in love with her." He stood, walked into the living room and found his father still sipping tea. "Dad," he said, standing still. Mr. Brandon looked up. "You look serious." "I am. I'm in love with Alina." Mr. Brandon set his cup down, smiling. "I knew it. The way you stalk her into the kitchen, now only love go, caused that one." Henry laughed softly. "I want to marry her, as soon as possible." "I'm not playing." "You've chosen well," his father said. "She is everything a man should want in a wife." Henry paused. "But I'm scared. What if she says no?" Mr. Brandon chuckled. "You? Fear? My friend, tell her your heart. If it's meant to be, it will be." The next morning, Alina returned from her trip looking radiant. Henry rushed out to meet her. "Welcome back," he said. "Thank you, sir." "No more, sir. Just call me Henry." She smiled. "Okay. Henry, can we talk? Just 5 minutes." She nodded. "Of course." He led her to the backyard garden. The flowers were in full bloom, birds chirped, and the evening sky was soft orange. "Alina," he said, voice shaking. "This might sound foolish, but I'm in love with you. From the day I saw you, the way you moved in the kitchen, your laugh, your spirit. I couldn't stop thinking about you. I want to marry you." Alina stood frozen. Then she stepped forward. "Henry, I felt the same way from the beginning, but I couldn't say anything. I'm a woman. I had to wait." Henry laughed, his eyes wet. "So all this time, you loved me too?" "Yes," she whispered. "I just didn't know if you felt the same." He took her hands. "I do, with all my heart. Will you marry me?" "Yes, Henry, I will." They hugged tightly as the flowers danced in the breeze. Inside the house, Mr. Brandon smiled at the window. Far away in Ajagunle, Mary was on her knees. "Lord," she prayed, "wherever my daughter is, let her be happy." A few days later, Henry turned to Alina. "I want to meet your mother." I want to thank her. That would mean a lot, Alina said. On Saturday, they dressed modestly and headed to Ajagunle. Henry's heart pounded. You nervous? Alina teased. Terribly, he said. As they approached the house, they knocked softly. Alina opened the wooden door and stepped in. They sat on the small brown sofa. The air smelled like kerosene and memories. Is your mother home? Henry asked. I think she stepped out to buy something. Just then, the front door opened. Mary walked in, carrying a nylon bag. Her face lit up when she saw her daughter, but paused when she saw the man beside her. My daughter, you didn't tell me you were bringing someone. Alina smiled, reaching for her mother's hand. Mama, meet Henry, the man I told you about. Alina stood up and hugged her mother tightly, her voice trembling with excitement. Mama, I wanted to surprise you. I brought someone very special with me. Mary turned slowly, expecting a casual friend or maybe a neighbor. But her eyes met. A young man who radiated both confidence and deep humility. Henry stood and greeted her respectfully, bowing slightly as tradition demanded. Good afternoon, Ma. Good afternoon, my son, Mary replied, raising an eyebrow with a teasing smile. Alina, you didn't tell me your visitor was this fine. Laughter echoed softly in the small parlor, but as Mary looked closer at Henry, her smile began to fade. Henry, on the other hand, couldn't take his eyes off her. Something deep within him stirred. Not just recognition, but a wave of emotions he'd buried for years. A face, a memory, a moment that changed his life. He stepped closer, his voice lowering. Ma, please, what is your name? Mary looked, puzzled, chuckling a bit. I am Mary Onwara. Why? Henry's eyes welled slightly. His voice was soft but steady. Do you remember me? Mary blinked. Have we met before? He gave a sad smile. Many years ago, I was just a small boy. I lost my school fees and sat by the roadside crying like the world had ended. Mary was quiet, searching her mind. He continued. You were selling tomatoes at your small stall near the old market. I told you everything, how my stepmother would beat me if I returned home without that money. You didn't know me. Yet, you listened, Mama. You gave me 5,000 naira, your last money, and told me to go back to school and be serious with my life. Mary's eyes widened. Her mouth parted slightly. Her hands trembled. I remember. That boy. Wait, are you saying... Henry nodded slowly, tears now streaming down his face. Yes, Ma, I am that small boy. He dropped to his knees gently before her. You didn't just help me, Mama. You rescued me. You restored my hope when I had nothing. That one act, that 5,000 naira you gave without expecting anything in return, it changed the course of my life. Mary staggered back slightly and sat down, hands covering her mouth in shock. Tears rolled freely down her cheeks. Ah, Chineke. You mean it was you? Henry nodded again. Yes, Ma. I've searched for you for years. But I never knew that the woman I fell in love with, your daughter, was your own blood. Alina, now crying too, held her mother's shoulder. Mama, I swear I didn't know until today. Mary sat in stunned silence for a moment. Then she looked at Henry's face again, this time with full clarity. See how you've grown. See how God has lifted you beyond imagination. Henry reached forward and gently held her hands. Now it is my turn to bless you, Mama, the same way you blessed me. I want to marry your daughter and take care of you like you're my own mother. This is not just love. This is divine. This is destiny. Mary finally broke down in deep sobs, covering her face. God, you are too faithful. Who am I, Lord, that you remembered me like this? She looked at her daughter and smiled through her tears. Alina, you didn't tell me you were in love with an angel. Alina laughed while crying, holding her mother tightly. Mama, I didn't even know. I just loved him for the man he is. Mary turned to Henry, her heart full. You are welcome, my son. You were once a boy in need, but now you've returned, as a man with blessings. They embraced warmly, and in that small sitting room, time stood still. Hearts were healed, promises were remembered. A beautiful future was born from the ashes of the past. The next morning, Henry rose early with purpose and peace in his heart. He called Alina and Mary outside to sit in front of their small, rented house in town. Just as they settled, a black SUV pulled up quietly. 4 strong men stepped out, each carrying sacks of rice, cartons of foodstuff, bottles of groundnut oil, shiny new kitchen pots, and 2 large wrappers wrapped in golden cellophane paper. Mary was startled. What is going on? Henry smiled. This is just the beginning. Mama? One of the men stepped forward and handed her a clean brown envelope. She opened it slowly, her hands trembling as her eyes scanned the contents. A bank check, her name printed boldly on it. The amount, 10 million naira. Mary gasped and covered her mouth with both hands. Jesus, Henry, what is this? This is for you, Mama, he said gently. For the rent you couldn't pay, for the tomato stall that got destroyed, for the shame you endured, for the 5,000 naira you gave me that day when I had nothing. You deserve this, and much more. Mary couldn't speak. She dropped to her knees, weeping as she held the check close to her chest. But Henry wasn't done. He turned again and handed her a smaller white envelope. There's one more thing, Mama. Mary opened it carefully. Inside was a shiny set of house keys and a set of property documents. That's the key to your new house, Henry said, kneeling again. A 3-bedroom bungalow in this same town. Fully furnished, paid in full, in your name. Mama, you will never pay rent again. Mary fell completely to the ground, crying and praising God. You are a miracle worker, Lord. You never forgot. Me! Alina rushed to hug her mother tightly. Mama, this is your reward. All those nights you cried, God was watching. A few weeks later, Henry and Alina were married in a beautiful garden ceremony in Enugu. The atmosphere was rich with color, bright Ankara prints, traditional drums, ululations from elderly women, and joyful dancing. Alina wore a flowing white gown with coral beads. Henry stood beside her in a white agbada trimmed with gold, his heart full of gratitude. Mr. Brandon, Henry's foster father, sat proudly. Beside him was Mary, glowing in her new lace wrapper and jewel, her skin radiant, her spirit full. From a tomato seller to the mother of the bride and a homeowner, Mary had been lifted beyond her dreams. As they danced during the reception, Henry leaned into Alina and whispered, I told you I don't waste time. Alina giggled softly. And I told you I loved you from the first day. Henry turned and watched Mary laughing with relatives. He whispered again, She gave me her last. Now, I've given her my best. A few months later, joy multiplied. Again, Alina gave birth to healthy twin boys. The entire house erupted in celebration. Mr. Brandon danced with one of the babies in his arms. Mary cradled the other, tears of happiness rolling down her cheeks. My daughter, she said softly, looking at Alina, God has doubled your blessings. Henry wrapped his arms around his wife, smiling deeply. You have made me the happiest man alive. And so they lived, not just happily ever after, but gratefully, lovingly, and with hearts full of purpose. Dear viewers, what powerful lesson did you take from this unforgettable story of kindness, destiny, and reward? Let us know in the comments. If this story touched your heart, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to African Folktale Magic for more soul-lifting tales. Tap the notification bell so you never miss a moment of inspiration.